Welcome everyone to today's lecture. We are on week 3, lecture 1. We are going to be talking today about the flex property, CSS property. You guys are going to be loving this property, which is going to be your best friend while you are styling or while you want to be having rows, columns inside of your HTML page. Okay, so let me go ahead and start sharing my screen right here. As we guys said, we are on week 3, Monday, lecture 1. We had the office hours for today. In the office hours, we demonstrated how to be building this web page with the CSS property display inline block. Feel free to rewatch or to watch the office hours to this wireframe. It's going to be uploaded right after this lecture. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Okay. I had a, let's say, optional assignment for you guys. We want to be creating this inner spacing right here in our 2 columns and to be adding this separator or let's say border right here between our 2 columns. Okay. When you are done with this, feel free to reach out to me and send it to me, show it to me when I have my feedback. I'm going to receive it and tell you this feedback, of course. Or if you are struggling with anything while building this, feel free to reach out to me as well. When you rewatch the office hours and having any problems or any questions, also feel free to reach out to me anytime. So that was what did we cover on the office hours. Standing on Monday right here, I am guessing that you are done with your readings. So this was the readings for today. This was the readings for the previous week. Today, we will be covering flex advantage, justify content, being flexible, okay, CSS resets, layouts concerns. Few of these readings we will be covering for today. You are going to understand the concept of Flexbox, how to display your columns inside of one row. Instead of having them displayed in inline block, we are going to be using display flex for today. Hope you guys are enjoyed for this or excited for this, because I am excited when I'm going to teach, or always when I'm teaching the flex CSS property. My energy is so high and I'm really excited for this. Let's jump to our discussion questions and core assignments for this week. For this week, we have the discussion questions link. They are opened. All of you can go ahead and submit their discussion questions. Its deadline, as always, is on 12 p.m. 12 midnight, sorry, 12 midnight PST on Sunday. Okay. Here are the core assignments. Again, you guys are receiving reminders. All of you should have received reminders on Friday. Every Friday, you are going to receive reminders on your status with what you are be doing in this stack and class, with the submission rate of your assignments, with the discussion questions. Okay, so these are reminders. If you are falling behind, you are going to receive reminders. If you are on pace, you are going to receive congratulations on staying on pace. Okay, they are going to be sent by the end of each Friday, in order for you to keep track with what's happening and with your own status. I'm saying again, the discussion questions are highly recommended and mandatory for you to be submitting them on their deadline. It is a hard deadline. For the assignments, it is not a hard deadline, but it is recommended for you to be following this deadline criteria that you are having right here by the end of each week. Okay? Anyone having any questions, comments, concerns regarding the discussion questions, regarding the assignments? Okay, feel free to let me know. Also, for this week's GitHub Blocks assignment, this assignment is going to be, let's not say graded, but it's going to be reviewed by me. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of your submissions to the GitHub Blocks, and I'm going to provide all of you feedback upon your submission. So when you submit the GitHub Blocks, you're going to receive a feedback from me, telling you my opinion on your code, telling you my feedback, what did you do right or what did you do correctly, and what is going to be perfect, or what is going to be better if you apply this or if you apply this, and so on. So be expecting my feedback on the GitHub Logs assignment, okay? And of course, not just the GitHub Logs assignment, any of the assignments, either the core assignments or the optional or the practice assignments. If you submit them and want to have my feedback, let me know so I can go through them and provide you feedback on. Okay? We have a question. Will you be giving us the feedback on email or on Discord? This is a nice question. I'm going to provide you the feedback neither on email or Discord. I'm going to provide it on the learning platform. So all of you are going to go to your learning platform, okay? Right in your Learn, right here, tab, this one. Let me click on it. You are going to see this option which is saying assignment checklist. Okay, so I'm going to click on this one as well. In the assignment checklist, you are going to see, let's say for the HTML, you are going to see a comments icon right here. I don't have it right now, but it's going to be displayed in this, like positioned right here. If I have submitted feedback upon this assignment to you, you are going to be seeing a tick right just as this one in front of the icon that you are going to be shown right here is going to be shown right here. That means me have provided feedback to you upon this assignment. So you are going to go to the assignment, which is going to be found in the CSS. Is going to be GitHub Logs. I don't know why it is not right here, but this is another stack for another cohort. Okay, but like let's say this is the assignment that I want to provide feedback upon. You're going to see an icon right here. Okay, in this icon, when you press on it or when you click on it, you're going to see my feedback. Okay, so my feedback is going to be added on the learning platform, not through email or not through the Discord, and I'm going to provide instructions again with screenshots how to be viewing your my feedback on the learning platform. So thank you so much for your question. And again, GitHub Logs is going to be reviewed and having feedback to you by me. Sounds good? Okay, so try to impress me. Try to make my hopes high because my hopes are high. Okay, perfect. That was for our class calendar. So as I said, today we will be covering the Flexbox or Flex Display Flex CSS property. So let me go ahead and go to our current folder, see what did I prepare for you guys for today. Week 3, lecture 1. Let me go ahead and open this in our VS Code. Let me close the one for the office hours and highlight those right here. Okay, and let me go live. As you see right here, this is the demo that I have prepared for you guys. We want to be having few things I want to be telling you, and we are going to see what are the CSS properties that I'm going to be adding and that I'm going to be inserting in our CSS in order for us to be having the thing that we want. Okay, so for example, we have these 3 columns right here, column red, column blue, column green. What if we want to display them in the same line or in the same row? We will be giving column red, display in line block, column blue, display in line block, column green, display in line block. So the 3 of them is going to be displayed in the same row. Am I saying anything wrong?
No, you're correct. Inline, definitely. You're fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Bobby. Yeah. So let's try. If I go to my CSS, first, let me grab my HTML to go through what did I do. Here, I linked my style sheet by the link tag. Okay. I had H1 Flexbox demo. Here is my H1 Flexbox demo. It is displayed in the middle of the page or in the center of the page because here is my CSS or styling for my H1 tag. I set text align center. So it is aligning the H1 tag in the center of the page. Okay. So that was for the H1. Then I had my container. Here is my container. Here is my container. This green big box right here, this one. Let's check its CSS attributes or its CSS styling to see what did I do. Or first, let me have suggestions from you guys. Can you guess what did I do to be having this green box right here, this container right here? Any CSS property that you think that I added, let me know. Border, that's right. What is its color?
Green.
Green, that's right. Yeah. What else?
Solid green.
Yes, solid green, border, solid green. That's right. Yeah. What else? Yes, this is the right syntax from Aina on the chat. Border 2 pixels, solid green. That's right. Okay. What else in our CSS properties? Any suggestions? Height and width. That's right. That's right. Okay. For the height, I gave it a fixed height. So let's say I gave it 700 pixels of height. So that's fine. But for the width, can you tell me like how many percentage did I give to this container right here? Let's say that I gave it like 90% or 80% because it's not taking the 100% of the page. It's starting from right here and ending from right here. It is not starting from right here, from the beginning of the page, or not taking or not ending from the end of the page. So that means it is not taking 100%, right? So let's say almost 90%. Okay, what else? What else did I give, or what is the CSS property that I gave to my container in order for it to be displayed in the center of the page?
Margin 0 auto.
Margin 0 pixels auto. Thank you so much for this, Robin and Bobby. That's right. Yeah. Let me see my CSS code. Here's my container. If I wanted to style it, I gave it a class name of container, went ahead to my CSS and said dot container, had my width, just as you guys said, had the border, but it was 3 pixels, not 2 pixels, but that's fine. In order for us to place it in the middle of the page, I had my 0 pixels auto and a height. The only thing that we did miss was the padding. Can anyone tell me where are we having this padding inside of this container?
On the inside of the border, like that
Yeah.
space.
Yes, that's right. So this, let me see, this space right here is our 15 pixels padding. This space right here is our 15 pixels padding. Also from here, 15 pixels, also from here. Okay, so if I go and annotate my screen to make sure that I am saying the correct words, yeah, right here in the green box. Do you guys see this green inner spacing right here? Here. Can you guys see? Let me show you here. Okay, so our inspect tool is saying that my padding is of 15 pixels on all its dimensions, and its color is, as you see right here. So this is my inner padding, as we said. Okay, that was for our container. What else that we have? How can I clear the annotation? Yeah, okay.
I have a quick question.
Of course, anything.
I understand that the margin 0 pixels auto, like I understand that's going to make it centered, but like I'm a little bit confused on why that actually makes it centered.
Okay, this is a great question. Thank you so much. The first thing, we gave it a width, okay? So it has the space to be moving. This is the first thing. If it was having 100%, then we don't need to move it because we are not going to move any in our 100% because we are in the actual width, which is the 100%. So while are we having 90% of our body, So that means we can go ahead and position it by saying margin 0 pixels auto. For the first value, this is the vertical value, top and bottom. We don't need to be moving it from the top and the bottom. We need to be moving from the left and the right. So apply auto margin from the left, apply auto margin from the end. This automatic margin that we are adding is automatically centering it in the center of the page. Okay? So it is pushing it automatically from the left. It is pushing it automatically from the right because it's having a width of 90%. Automatically, it will be positioned and have been displayed in the middle of the page because of the auto value or property. Okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. I forgot that the first value was the top and the bottom, so I was confused, but now it makes sense. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for your question. And as we said, first value is for the vertical, top, bottom. Second value is for the horizontal, left and right. So we are moving it automatically from the left and right, so it is met at the center of the page. Okay? That was for the container. Then I had class named row or div named row. Contained in it div called red, div called blue, div called green, right? For the row, currently I don't have any styling for it. As you see right here, we are going to see, let me remove it. We're going to see what are we going to do to style it. Okay, so let's remove about the class row for now. Or let me go ahead and comment it out. Okay, not you. This one, okay, this one, okay. Nothing is going to be changed, as you see. We have red, blue, and green. This red is displayed as a box right here with the background color of red because I applied the styling to it by saying red, take the background color of red. Green, take the background color of green. Blue, take the background color of blue. The three boxes are displayed in boxes or squares because I gave the three of them to red, to blue, and to green width of height of 250 pixels. Okay? I want to be having the three boxes with the same width and height with the same dimensions. So I gathered all of them in my styling and gave them the same CSS properties, which are the width and height. Because I want my div box to be having background color of red, so I separately styled it for the green, separately styled it for the blue as well. Okay? Okay. As Bobby suggested earlier, if we wanted to be having them in the same row, I would go to the three of them. To red, say display inline block. To green, say display inline block. And to blue, say display inline block. Because we are having right here those three divs inside of one styling, so I can add to this styling display inline block, right? There you go. They are displayed in the same row because I gave red, blue, and green display inline block, okay? That was what we know. We have nothing new until now, okay? Let's hear more and let's understand what is display flex means, okay? So when we wanted to be placing our three columns or three boxes inside of one row, we went ahead to all of the divs that we want to place them inside of one row and added display inline block to them. We can have another way to display them in one row by creating a parent div to be gathering all of the columns that we have. So red div is a column, blue div is a column, green div is a column. So I added the three of them inside of a div, parent div, which is the row, okay? The row. So let me annotate right here. There you go. Here. So this box that you are seeing right here, it is having red, blue, also green. Okay? Both of them are in the big, let me change the color to this one, to this color right here. Okay. The three colors, red, blue, and green, is inserted inside of a parent div, which is the purple one. Sorry, I can't. Okay, which is the purple one, right? Why is this? Because right now, today, we will be knowing a new CSS property in order for us to be displaying columns inside of one row with a shortcut, with much of advantages, with less lines of code. Okay? Class name row is our parent that is gathering all of our children, which is red, blue, and green. So if we want to be displaying red, blue, and green, instead of giving all of them display inline block, we can go ahead and give to their parent, which is a row, only one CSS property. So I can go ahead and style my row, which is their parent, that is combining green, red, and blue, and say to this row, display flex. That's it. If I go back, the three or my three boxes are going to be in the same row. Did I go and add display flex to 3 times or many times? Did I add display flex 3 times or more than 1 time? No, right? I added only 1 time to the parent that is going to be having its column or its children displayed in one row. What is the parent?
Parent to red, blue, and green.
The parent is going to be the div that is combining red, blue, and green, which is what?
The row.
Which is the row. Thank you so much. Okay, so green, blue, red is inside of the big div, which is the row right here, as you guys can see. This is the opening tag of the div class name row. This is the closing tag of the class name row. Okay. Inside of the opening tag and the closing tag, we have column number 1, red, column number 2, blue, column number 3, green. So this is child number 1, child number 2, child number 3. Their parent is the row, because column number 1, column number 2, column number 3 are organized or are grouped inside of this row parent right here. Do you guys understand this? Okay. So I didn't go to red and say display flex. I didn't go to blue, say display flex as well. I didn't go to green, said display flex as well. No, I went to their parent, which is the tag or which is the div that is combining them, and told that div display flex. So when I add display flex to any div, it's going to be positioning its children in rows. What is the parent, our row? What are the children, the 3 divs right here, blue, red, and green? Okay. So what is the difference between display inline block and display flex till now? Can anyone tell me?
Display inline block is applied to the actual element and display flex is applied to the parent.
That's right. Thank you so much for this, Robin. This explains everything. So if I want to be displaying red, blue, and green, red, blue, and green in the same line, I can do this by 2 ways. The first way is to go to colon red and say display inline block. Go to colon blue, say display inline block as well. Go to colon green and say display inline block as well. This is the first approach. The second approach is to combine the 3 colons inside of one div. Let's name it row. And give this row CSS property of display flex. So when this div that I'm going to create, which is row, is going to combine the 3 boxes, and when I add display flex to it, it is going to align the 3 of them in one row, colon 1, colon 2, colon 3. Do you guys understand this so far? Okay? Okay. Since we have approach number 1 and approach number 2, that means someone is better, or approach, there is an approach which is better than the other. Okay? Display flex right here is better than display inline block. Can anyone tell me from the beginning, what is the first advantage that we faced or that we noticed?
You only have to add it to like 1 instead of 3 different things.
That's right. Less lines of code. That makes our code more efficient. That's right. We didn't go to red, blue, and green and said display inline block to red, display inline block to green, and display inline block to blue. No. I went ahead to the row, which is their parent, combining the 3 boxes, combining the 3 columns, and said display flex only once. So by saying display flex only once is better and making our code more efficient by reducing its lines of code. Instead of having 3 display inline blocks, we are only having display flex. So this is our first advantage of saying display flex. Both of them are doing the same purpose or doing the same job, displaying our boxes or columns in the same row, but one of them is more efficient till now. That is the first advantage that we noticed. What can be the second advantage? Is the spacings. If I want to be positioning my columns right here in any way, I can go ahead and add extra CSS property to the parent, which is having display flex, to send to align and to place and to separate and have spacings between my columns right here. So if I want to have, let me have the black color. If I want to be having spacings between my columns right here, like spacing here or spacing here, I can go ahead and say, while doing flex, also have the CSS property gap, 50 pixels, for example. This gap of 50 pixels is going to generate or to be having this spacing right here. When I say gap 50 pixels, I'm going to be adding space of 50 pixels between my columns. So sorry. Okay. So the first CSS property to be having spacing within our columns is gap. Okay. Anyone having any problems with gap? Okay. Where did we insert gap? In the same div, which is the parent that we are using display flex in, which is gathering all of our columns. So column red, column blue, column green is inside of our div class name row. So row is going to be displayed in flex. If you want to have spacings between those 3 columns, we are going to go to their parent and say gap whatever value we can add. So sorry for this. I don't know what's happening with me. Sorry. Okay. So that was for the spacings between our columns. We said gap. Okay. But what if we can have another spacing? Like we want the first column to be starting from the right, left, or from the beginning of our, row, and our column green to be on the right hand side or by the end of our row, and column blue is to be in the middle of our page. What if we want to do this? We can go ahead and expand the gap until we meet what do we want by saying, one moment please. So sorry guys, I don't know what happened. Okay, so when I say gap of 50 pixels, it created this spacing right here. If I want to increase this spacing, I can go ahead and increase it by saying, let's say 350 pixels between our columns. Let's try. And so on by saying, let's say 400, for example, as you see right here. But we are not going to do this on all of our, like, this is not going to be responsive. Let's see right here. As you see, is this responsive? No, right? Yeah. So gap can only be working and doing its job 100% fine if we want to be having spacings with small portion, just as the 50 pixels, 20 pixels gap of, sorry, 30 pixels. Yeah. So if you want to be having only small amounts of spacing between our columns, gap will do the trick. Okay. For large amount of spacing, we can use another CSS property, which is justify, sorry, content. Okay. Justify content allows us to do two things. The first thing, if we want to place and to position our columns in the left-hand side of the page, or in the middle of the page, or at the end of the page. That is its first purpose, by saying, let's see. Let me remove it. Here is our columns. If I want my columns to be in the middle of the page, okay, I'm going to say justify content, center, save, go back here. Okay, all of my columns inside of my row are going to be placed in the middle of the page or in the center of the page. Okay, if I want them to be on the right hand side of the page, right here, I'm going to say justify content flex end. There you go. If I want them on the left hand side, I'm going to say flex start. Okay, there you go. But right now I'm not creating any spacing, right, between my columns. I'm only positioning them. To justify content can help me position my columns. Also, it can help me in the positioning as well. So I can say justify content space. This space will generate to me three CSS properties: space around, space between, space evenly. Let's see what are the difference between the three of them. If we say space between, because this is the most commonly used, it is going to create an equal amount of spacing between our columns, having our first child in the left-hand side of the page, our middle child in the middle of the page, having our last child in the right-hand side of the page. If we go ahead and add more, let's say divs, like this one right here, it's still going to be responsive. Okay, here. As you see, it is not exceeding my column. It is not over the size of my column. It is still contained in my column by saying justify content space between. Okay, let's return to our three boxes. here they are, it is creating equal spacing between our columns. Okay? What if we had only column red and only column blue? We don't have column green. And I said justify content space between. Can you guess where is this column blue will be?
To where maybe where the green one is right now.
Yes, that's right. Because right now we are having column red, this one, and column blue. So it is going to create equal spacing between both of them. So it is going to be right here. Okay, let's see. Let me comment out column green. Make sure that our row is having justify content space between. Head back. There you go. It is having equal spacings between the two columns. But here is the thing. The thing is what? When I say display flex, then add justify content space between, it's going to take the first child, which is this one, and calculate how many children does it have. Okay? Then it's going to automatically adjust the width between them responsively. As you saw when I added, let me clear the annotation. When I added right here green, when I'm going to add another one, for example, as you see, it is still going to be responsive. It is going to respect the spacings between all of our columns equally. Okay, so it is auto calculating all of our columns and auto generating equal spacings between them. This is for justify content space between. Okay, it is responsive. It is calculating how many columns that we have, generating equal spacings between them. If we are going to be having only two columns, one is going to be on the left, one is going to be on the right. If you are going to be having more columns, it's going to calculate how many columns that we have, automatically have equal spacings between them. Okay, that was for the first value to justify content, which is space between. The second one is space around. Here, space around added. Let me change this one. Okay, space around added. Space right here. Space right here. Then equal spacings between all of our columns. This is what space around does. When do I use space between? When do I use space around? When do I use all of these things? That depends on my situation or on my design that I want to be building. If I don't want any spacing on the left-hand side of my row and any spacing on the right-hand side of my row, I will not be using space around. If I want my rows, its content or its columns to be starting from the left and ending from the right without having any spacing, just as these two, I will be using space between. So that depends on our case, okay? When you have the chance to practice with your own hand, to say the difference between space around, space between, space evenly, you will notice by your own eyes. So let's try right here, space evenly, save and go back, as you see right here. You will notice with your own eyes what is the difference between the three of them. Our columns is still the same. The thing that is changing is the spacings, how they are positioned, how they are having spacings between them and outside from them. Is my CSS property justify content. The thing that I am changing to create spacings between them is space evenly, space between, space around. Okay, so we talked about space between, space around, which is creating space from the left-hand side, spacing from the right-hand side, then equal spacings between them. Let's talk about space evenly. This is space evenly that you are seeing right here. It is creating a equal spacings starting from the left-hand side of the column, ending with the right-hand side of the columns. So this spacing is equals to this spacing right here. This is spaced evenly. It is creating evenly spaced, evenly equal spaced from the left-hand side, from the right-hand side, also from its inner positions. So it is creating evenly equal spacings from all of the dimensions of all of our columns. When do we use it? When do we use it? That depends on our case. If you are having a design, wants our columns to be having space on the left-hand side, space from the right-hand side, and this spacing is equal to this one. Also, this spacing is equal to the inner spacing between of our columns. Justify content space evenly. And again, guys, when you try this with your own hands, when you practice on this, you will notice the difference. You will understand when to use when upon our case. Okay? Any questions so far on our properties, CSS properties till now? We have display flex, we have justify content space evenly, or space between, or space around. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, let me see ones on the chat if you guys are following up with me. How many ones do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And the number of participants is 9. Let me count again. Okay. Yeah, so this is good. Okay, if anyone having any questions, go ahead and ask. I can re-explain anything millions of times. That's totally fine with me. But again, you will never understand this 100% unless you try it with your own hands or unless you practice on it. Okay? But the purpose of display flex is to align our items or align our columns inside of one row. To have spacings between them, we use justify content. Okay? That was for the justify content. What if we want to be moving our columns, not to be starting from right here, but let's say we want them to be vertically in the middle of the page or vertically in the bottom of the page? That will lead us to another CSS property, which is align items. Okay? When we have display flex, if we want to create spacings between them, between our columns, or if we want to move our columns vertically, we are going to use justify content. When we use display flex and we want to be moving our columns horizontally, vertically, we want to be moving this row vertically, like in the middle of the row, or in the middle of the container, or in the bottom of the container, to move the whole row vertically, we use align items and give it the value that we want. If we want to display it in the middle of the page or in the center of the page vertically, we will use align items center. Okay, let me remove this to be space between. Okay, in order for it to be applied, we need to be giving it a width. Okay, so let me remove the width from the row, from the container, and add it to the row. Okay, it is moving right now because when I didn't have the height, I'm going to show you right now. This black box that I created is our row. We said that we are going to be having a parent. That parent is going to be having 8 children. That parent is going to be displayed in Flex, is going to be displaying its children in Flex in one row. So this parent, which is in the black box right here, it doesn't have any height. So when we want to align these items vertically, it doesn't have the space to be moving, right? Because here is its width and height. Here it is. So when I say it, align items center, it is already in the center. When I say align items, let's say top, which is going to be flex start, but when I say top, it is already in the top. When I say flex bottom or flex end, which is the bottom, it is already in the bottom. But when I create a, let me clear the annotation. When I create a height or add a height to my row, this black box that I'm creating right now is the height of my row. When I have this height to my row, these columns will be having space to be moved because we still have a height, so they still have the space to be moved vertically. Okay, so let me give my row a height and give it a border in order for us to see border radius of 3 pixels solid black. Okay, where is our border? Oh, not border radius, only border, sorry. Here. Let me increase the border a little bit. Let's say 5 pixels. It's going to be really ugly, but let's see. No, okay, not that ugly. Okay. Right now, our black border is the border of our row. That means these 3 columns is inside of my row. Okay. Let me clear the align item center for now. They were as this. When I say align items center, do I have the space to be moving vertically? Yes. So when I say center, it is going to calculate the height of the row and to adjust them immediately in the center or in the middle of this height automatically. Okay? Because we have the spacing to be moving vertically. Okay? So align items allows us to be moving vertically. When I say center, if we are having the space to be moving, then it will automatically be moved to the center. When I say flex end, that means bottom. Because it is having the height and the space to be moved, it is going to be displayed in the bottom. If I want it to be in the top, I'm going to say flex start. There you go. Okay? That was the end of the things I wanted to talk with you. We still have 8 minutes. In these 8 minutes, I'm going to recap. I'm going to have all of your questions so I can answer them. Let's start with the recap. Okay? So if you missed anything, you still have the opportunity to be hearing things again. When we wanted to be displaying our boxes right here in one row, we said previously that we will be doing them in display inline block. We discovered that we have another better way in order for us to display them in one row by saying display flex. So we can combine the boxes or the columns that we want to be grouped in one row or to be displayed in one row, to be adding them inside of a parent div. Okay, that parent div is going to take the CSS property display flex. So we are only giving display flex to the parent, is going to automatically place his children in one row. What is his children? Div red, div blue, div green. Right now they are on one row because their parent, which is row, their parent, which is row, is having the CSS property display flex. Okay? Let me clear those. Let me only add the height. Okay. Right now they are on the same row because they are inserted in a parent div. I added to this parent div the CSS property display flex. Okay. I can't, or right now I don't have any spacings between them. If I want to have minor spacings, few spacing, I can say the CSS property gap. This gap will allow me to add few spacings between my columns. Okay. What if I want to adjust this or to increase this spacing? I can go ahead with the CSS property justify content space between, for example. As you see, the gap or the inner spacing between them have been increased. It can also be space around. And you guys can notice the difference between the three of them. It can be space evenly, as you see right here. Okay. Space evenly allows you to create equal spacings evenly from all of the dimensions of your columns, starting from its left-hand side till its right-hand side. Okay? That was for space evenly. Creates evenly equal space from all of the dimensions of our columns. For space around, it creates only space from the left-hand side of our row, space from the right-hand side of our row, then equal spacings between our columns. When you go ahead and practice this, you will know the difference. For space between, it is going to create equal spacings, but it is going to be starting right from the left-hand side and ending right from the right-hand side. It's not creating any spacings on the left or in the right. Okay? This is not just what justify content does, it also allows us to place our row, place our three columns. If we want to place them in the center of the page, we can say justify content center. This will move them in the center of the page. If you want to move them in the right-hand side of the page, we can say flex end. This is right here. Okay? So to create spacings between them, justify content or gap. That depends on your case. If you want to move them horizontally, justify content. If you want to align them vertically, like position them vertically, either on the middle of the page vertically, okay, sorry, or in the bottom of the page vertically. We need to be having space for us to move. That's why we have height to our row right here. Okay. Then use the CSS property align items. If we want to align them in the center of the page, we're going to say align items center. There you go. If you want to align them in the bottom of the page, align items flex end. Okay. The advantages of display flex is the first thing, less lines of code. It is more efficient. The second thing, we can create inner spacings between our columns with many ways, with small spacings between our columns. Okay, right here, minor space by saying gap right here. Larger space by saying justify content and say space, and we can have those three values. In the display inline block, we didn't have all of these options. We didn't have all of these variations, right? We can also space our or position our items vertically by saying align items. Okay? So that was the topics that we had for today's lecture. That means we are on the end of our lecture, of course, but we still have 2 minutes. So I'm going to be sitting right here for all of your questions, and I can go ahead and recap and re-say anything again. Just tell me any of your questions right now. What do you guys have for me? And I want to hear, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so it sounds like then we should, it's like basically always better to do the flex than to do the inline block in general then. That's I guess what's kind of sounding like.
So starting from today, Molly, I want you to remove display inline block from your memory. Okay. Okay. I want you to
Sounds
forget.
good.
Yeah. I want you to forget that you have been teaching display inline block. Okay. But because we want to give you the advantages and the best way for us to display our columns in one row, we want to give you the poor way, then give you the rich way. The poor way, of course, is display inline block. The best way or the best approach with best varieties, with best options, is the display flex. Okay? Okay. So I want to have, yes, and it's too much easier. That's right. So I want to have a scale from 1 to 10. How far did you understand display flex with its justifying content, with its align items? And keep in your mind, when you go ahead and rewatch this video or when you practice with your own hands, you are going to understand better. So if you have understood 5 out of 10, you will understand better when you practice with your own hand or when you rewatch this video. But from now, how much did you understand? And how is things going on with the display flex? Tell me, I want to hear feedback. We have 8, 9, 10, 9, 10. Okay, for the rest of the people, 9. Okay, don't be shy, guys. If you have 1 out of 10, feel free to drop it. That's totally fine. As I'm telling you, when you rewatch this video or when you practice it with your own hands, you will be good to go. So no worries at all. And I'm right here for all of your questions. And I will be always for all of you if you rewatch this video or if you practice it with your own hands and nothing is working with you, having any issues, blockers, anything, feel free to let me know. Okay. So that was the end of our lecture for today. I was so glad that we did cover the display flex because I always love to let the people know that display inline block is not the best way. Display flex is even more better. Okay. So we are right here on Monday, week 3, lecture 1. We did it. Okay. Go ahead and do your readings for Tuesday, and we are going to meet you on Wednesday to give you a demo lecture upon the display flex. We're going to have a wireframe that is having columns and rows, and we will be using display flex to be building this website and to be having our rows and columns with the display flex. Okay. Hope this sounds interesting to all of you. I know that it is. Yeah. Don't forget about the discussion questions, about your GitHub blocks assignment, which you are going to be having feedback from me upon, also from the flexible columns assignment, which is a core assignment. Thank you so much for being with me here today. I will be ending the recording, and if you have any questions, I will be staying for a few minutes right after this lecture. So thank you again and see you.